You won't believe what just happened to Max Verstappen. The three-time world champion was in for a shocking surprise when FIA officials knocked on his door early Friday morning. After a late night at the Zandvoort circuit, Max was rudely awakened for an unannounced doping test. Fans are buzzing and everyone's wondering what this means for the racing superstar. Max Verstappen is leading the F1 standings again this year, but his lead has gotten smaller recently. However, with the F1 2024 season resuming this weekend at the Dutch Grand Prix, his home race at Circuit Zandvoort, it might be the perfect opportunity for the 26-year-old to get his first win in 5 races. Verstappen has won all 3 Dutch Grands Prix since F1 returned to the Netherlands in 2021 and is starting from the front row, aiming to keep his perfect record intact. Race weekends are already tough, and media day can be exhausting for many drivers. Verstappen, who's staying in his motorhome at Zandvoort, needed his sleep, but on Friday morning, he was woken up early. He mentioned this during a live stream with his sim racing team, Team Redline. Max Verstappen bit grumpy after 7 a.m. WADA visit. The race weekend didn't start well for Verstappen, and it wasn't just because of his challenging Friday practice. The trouble began earlier that morning when he got an unexpected wake-up call. While it's normal for drivers to undergo doping tests during race weekends, this one was particularly untimely for Verstappen. At 7 a.m. on Friday, the World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA, visited his motorhome for a urine test. Drug testing for banned substances, including those that could enhance performance, is routine in elite sports, and F1 follows WADA's regulations strictly. However, the timing of this test was far from ideal for Verstappen, who is not only the current leader of the F1 2024 championship, but also a 3-time world champion. Red Bull's senior advisor, Helmut Marko, acknowledged that the early morning visit didn't sit well with Verstappen. Max was a bit grumpy, Marko confirmed to De Telegraaf. He added, "It's just a Friday. We shouldn't make it bigger than it is. People from such an agency often come early because then it's easy to deliver a first P." Verstappen shared his frustration about the early morning incident during a live Twitch stream, offering fans a candid look into how his race weekend began. "Oh, by the way, I had a lovely morning this morning," he sarcastically remarked, clearly still annoyed by the situation. He recounted the events, saying, "I'm in bed and suddenly the doorbell rings. I'm thinking, what the FK? Who the FK is ringing the doorbell in the motorhome?" Verstappen then checked his phone, only to realize it was 7 a.m. He continued, "I'm like, what the FK? What the FK is going on?" So I go to the door, open it, and yep, doping control. At 7 a.m, mate. That's a great start to the weekend. The unannounced doping test had caught him off guard, disrupting his much-needed rest before a crucial day at the track. Verstappen explained how the test added to his frustration. "And then it took me 1 hour to go to the toilet." As is standard procedure for drug tests, Verstappen was required to provide a urine sample for the officials. He shared the routine frustration, saying, "Yes, you have to wait until you can pee in the cup," a process he has grown accustomed to over time. Verstappen also mentioned that 2024 had been particularly busy for him when it came to drug testing. "I don't know why, but this year I have been tested already 5 times, which I think in F1 is quite a lot," he noted, adding that he was also tested at Spa during the previous race weekend. While no F1 drivers have ever been found guilty of violating anti-doping regulations while actively competing, the sport does have its share of controversies. Part-time Super Aguri F1 team driver Frank Montagny and 3-time race starter Thomas Engie both tested positive for prohibited substances later in their careers, leading to bans. So, what does doping mean in F1? Appendix A to the International Sporting Code. Some racing drivers have attempted to use doping to enhance their performance in auto racing, but such practices are both unsafe and illegal, as regulated by the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile, FIA. The FIA has strict rules governing doping in motorsports, outlined in Appendix A to the International Sporting Code. This appendix, introduced on December 1, 2010, after consultations with the World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA, outlines the substances that are banned and the penalties for violations. The FIA follows WADA's banned substance list, which includes a range of performance-enhancing drugs. Notably, the FIA has added alcohol and beta blockers to this list, recognizing the unique demands and risks associated with auto racing. Testing is conducted randomly from a predetermined pool of drivers, with both the FIA and national sanctioning bodies overseeing the process during events. If a driver tests positive for a banned substance, the consequences are severe. The driver will be immediately disqualified, with all results forfeited and any winnings returned. If the infraction is deemed negligent rather than intentional, the penalty may be limited to disqualification from the event in question. However, a second violation carries a mandatory 6-month ban from the sport, with the potential for even harsher penalties depending on the circumstances. Additionally, the driver may be required to repay any prize money won and could face a fine of up to €15,000. These strict regulations are the FIA's commitment to maintaining the integrity and safety of the sport. For drivers like Verstappen, who are subjected to frequent testing, these measures ensure that their success on the track is purely a result of skill and hard work, not illicit enhancements. Let's now talk about the Dutch GP qualifying. Fortunately, Verstappen's weekend at the Dutch Grand Prix improved as time went on. Despite securing P2 on the grid for Sunday's race, he admitted that he never felt fully in contention for pole position. Lando Norris ultimately claimed that honour for McLaren, beating Verstappen by a margin of 0.356 seconds. In the post-qualifying press conference, Verstappen was asked about his final Q3 lap, which placed him between the McLarens of Norris and Oscar Piastri. He explained that his lap wasn't perfect, noting a small mistake in turn 11, 12. "I had a bit of a moment in turn 11, 12, but that was also a bit of my qualifying in general," Verstappen shared with the media, including planetf1.com. He further elaborated on the challenges he faced, mentioning how the gusts of wind made the car feel unpredictable. "Every run, there were always 1 or 2 corners where I felt like I was losing a lot of time with just the gust of wind. And it seemed like it was very sensitive for us. The car was really responding aggressively to it. And that's why I think every single run that I did was different," Verstappen said. This constant variability in the car's balance made it difficult for him to consistently find the pace needed to challenge for the pole. Verstappen acknowledged that the tricky conditions made his qualifying session quite challenging. "Yeah, it just made it very difficult," he said. Reflecting on his Q3 performance, Verstappen explained that his first lap wasn't too bad, but as he tried to push harder, the car felt increasingly unstable. "Everything just seems very snappy. Very on the edge, I would say," he added. Despite these challenges, Verstappen was pleased to secure a spot on the front row. "I'm happy to be on the front row. I think after Q1 and Q2, I've never really been in that top 5 region," he noted. Although he tried to save tyres throughout the session, he never felt like he was in the fight for pole position. "And then when you come out of qualifying on the front row, I think that's okay," Verstappen concluded. As he prepares to defend his unbeaten record at Zandvoort, Verstappen hopes for better pace in Sunday's race. However, he admitted that it would be very tricky to beat Norris. When asked if he expects to be more competitive against Norris in the race, Verstappen responded, "I would hope so, but I think when you see the gap, it's going to be very tricky." He also noted that Norris seems more comfortable with his car's performance, while Verstappen has struggled with balance. "I'm a bit more all over the place with the balance," he said, adding, "Maybe it stabilizes a bit tomorrow, but I guess we'll find out." So, what do you think of the whole doping test scandal that happened with Verstappen? Comment below and subscribe for more.